a quick show of hands. Who here has ever freaked out because of a due date or because of a deadline? Raise them high. Yeah, that seems about right. For most people, just hearing the words deadlines or due dates makes them freak out, makes them tense up. For the longest time ever, we've seen them as our sworn enemies, as destroyers of our sanity, as tankers of quality. But what if I were to tell you that they're rather our secret weapons that are waiting to be used, that actually improve quality and productivity? Let's understand how that works today through some explanations, examples, and some fancy psychology. Think of deadlines and their pressure like this coin I have right here. Two sides. Let's talk about the first one, the obvious one. Pretty close. Nope. All right. Deadlines can be tough. We've all been there staring at a blank Word document, just gazing at that blinking cursor, hoping it magically starts typing by itself. And once we realize that there is no magic, the time pressure starts breathing a little too close. It's almost suffocating. You scramble, you start writing, hoping ideas come to you as you start working. But at that point, the time pressure is just too much. It keeps distracting you subconsciously. It doesn't let you think. You can't get any good ideas out. This kind of pressure can lead to burnout, anxiety, and work that is half-baked and rushed. We see this happen so often in schools and universities, where a project that could have been fabulous turns out just okay, because we tend to push stuff to the end, to the last day, or sometimes even the last few hours. Been there, done that, guilty as charged. We're just stuck between handing something in versus doing our best work. We're just stuck between that. And this kind of pressure doesn't only show up in universities and work and schools. This also shows up in workplaces really often as well, where impossible deadlines push people to cut corners, plagiarize, and settle for second-rate ideas. And the fallouts for all this corner cutting can be devastating. Remember when Samsung, the smartphone company, rushed their Galaxy Note 7 smartphone to the market to meet an ambitious deadline and overlooked a bunch of battery precaution and safety checks? Because of that corner cutting, the phones had a tendency to overheat and sometimes catching fire. Just imagine your phone in your pocket gets overheated and starts a fire. Pretty devastating. So yeah, I think you all know where this is headed. Massive recalls and a huge hit to Samsung's reputation as a brand. So yeah, mismanaged time boundaries and deadlines can tank productivity, quality, and even reputations in this scenario. But remember this point? Two sides, we can't forget that. When we use time boundaries and their pressure the correct way, that's when the real magic happens. Alright. Let's look at it this way. Have you ever noticed how some people can have intense focus, laser precise focus when they're undertaking work? What I mean by that is, think of MasterChef. Do we all know what MasterChef is here? Alright, some of us, most of us? Okay, so for those of us that don't know what that is, it's basically a show where amateur chefs cook for professionals under a time limit, and then the professionals rate their dishes. If you ever watch the show, you'll notice that those chefs are locked in. Like, they're not distracted. They make splendid cuisines all under the watchful eye of the timer. That's pretty amazing. But hey, didn't we just say that time pressure can actually tank quality and people's focus and like eat away at their sanity? Yeah, that still stands. But here is the important thing. Deadlines and time pressure doesn't just create one reaction. It doesn't create one reaction. It offers two paths. It's like fire. It can either burn you completely, or it can just ignite a spark that pushes you to think sharper and work smarter. It's not the deadlines that are our actual enemies. It's how we approach them, which path we choose. If we rush and panic, then yeah, the quality is going to suffer and drop. But if we embrace the time pressure, plan smart, and focus our energy, at that point, we're not just working against the clock. We're working with it, using it to our advantage. And that's what the end goal is. Alright, let's make this a little bit more clear with some fancy psychology. There's something known as the Parkinson's law. Now, not the disease, Parkinson's law, of the psychological term. What it states is work expands to fill the time you give it. Let's say you give yourself a week to finish a task. There's a really high likelihood that it'll take you the complete week, because remember, we tend to push stuff to the very end. But for the same task, give yourself maybe a tighter deadline, like 2 or 3 days, and you'll notice that you still get it done. Even if you don't get the whole thing done, you'll notice that you're already over the hardest part, which is to start. Quick show of hands again. Who here has ever cleaned their room super fast because some guests were coming over? Yeah. So that's Parkinson's law in action. It's beautiful. Parkinson's law in action. So earlier you may have thought of, I'll clean it in a week, or I'll clean it in 2 weeks, or whenever the motivation hits me. But that sudden time crunch, now that the guests are coming over, forces your mind to push aside distractions and actually get it done instead of just waiting for later. That's the beauty of Parkinson's. And this doesn't only help you clean your rooms. For what I mean by that is there was an event, very recent, where time boundaries and their pressure technically saved humanity and its existence. Yeah. What I'm talking about is the, there we go, COVID-19 pandemic and the vaccine development. Alright, when the pandemic hit, pharmaceutical companies faced the ultimate deadline and task: save humanity. Normally, vaccines take 10 to 15 years to develop. Yeah, that's true. Normally, vaccines take 10 to 15 years to develop, but in the urgency of COVID, it was accomplished in less than a year. The sudden time crunch didn't force the companies to cut corners, like some of the other ones we talked about. Rather, it pushed them to use revolutionary approaches, like running trial phases simultaneously to not waste any time, or pre-manufacturing doses, or the best one, use of cutting-edge mRNA technology. mRNA is like DNA similar, it's a different form. Use of cutting-edge mRNA technology, which was only theoretical for decades. So yeah, the time pressure didn't just create a vaccine and save humanity. It revolutionized the whole medicine world and how we look at vaccines, how we make them. Pretty great stuff. Even today's top tech companies like Top Fang, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, have you heard of these? Even these companies use the power of time boundaries and their pressure to their advantage. Employees at these companies work in a deadline system known as sprints. Some of you probably heard of it. So how these sprints work? They're basically short time periods of work. This allows the employees to not just wait around forever. It allows them to not wait around forever and stay on task. Nobody gets to wait around for the perfect idea. They make something, they test it, if it doesn't work, they iterate over it quickly. No time wasted. And it's not only these huge things that Parkinson's law apply to. Even I've used Parkinson's law to my advantage a couple of times after discovering it. A quick example, I once had this super complex coding project. Yeah, I'm kind of a nerd, sure. I had this super complex coding project. Super overwhelming, and I just couldn't focus. I kept getting ahead of myself. I just couldn't think of what I was doing right there and then. Like, I was focusing on the end product, what the next step is, how the previous step will impact my next step. Just couldn't focus what I was doing right there and then. It was a complete mess. Even the most basic building blocks that are needed for my project were taking me way too long. One day I just decided I've had enough. I'm gonna sit down, make a clear plan. The plan I had in mind was give myself a time frame and give myself a goal to achieve in that time frame. Once I did that, my focus, instead of running around everywhere, snapped into place, like the final piece of a jigsaw puzzle. Pretty satisfying. So after my focus was in place, I was basically a coding machine, if you want to call it that. I was able to get done so much. What took me a week before, I was able to get done far better in just 2 days. So that, I don't know about you, but that's a lot of time saved right there. Alright. In terms of how to use time boundaries and their pressure for your success, I believe this exact formula that I just mentioned works super well and is the easiest to get started with. First thing, pick a time frame, preferably on the shorter end, and then pick a goal to achieve in that time frame. A perfect example to explain what this means is, I can say, I'm going to finish paragraph 3 of this essay in 40 minutes. Small time frame, achievable goal. What this does is it pushes your mind to set aside distractions and get working. Reason being, instead of earlier like having maybe a week to write 5 paragraphs, they only have 40 minutes to write 1, which is still doable. And it also forces the good side of the coin to get in action, alongside Parkinson's law. But there's a third thing that's super important, and we cannot forget about this, which is balance. If a time frame is too short, or a goal is too ambitious, thus unachievable, not being able to achieve that in the time frame you pick will subconsciously set you back, perhaps push you far away that you're never going to try it again, which is wrong. You should always try again, which is why balance is probably the most important one from all 3. I'm going to be completely honest now. Most of us, we're not going to master this overnight. Some of us, sure, those guys are legends, but most of us, probably not. Your first experiment that you do might go perfectly, but the next few, you might totally miss the mark. But that's okay, that's normal. That's just human. Happens with everything we try, everything new we do. The key is to just stick to it, stay consistent. Keep trying, keep testing with different time frames, different types of goals to achieve. Just keep pushing yourself till achieving the goals you pick in the time frames you set for yourself becomes second nature, becomes like child's play to you. There's more good news. In our time, in today's era, there are so many resources out there, so many techniques out there to help us achieve just that. And the best thing is, all you need to do is find which one works for you, and then you're set. For me, I personally love using Pomodoro timers. Sounds pretty common, many of you probably heard of it, but for me it's really effective. For those of us that don't know what this is, it's basically 2 timers running back to back, 30 minutes work, 5 minutes break, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I personally treat it like a mini boss level for a video game. Like if I don't finish this paragraph, game over. Because I love playing video games, just works for me. Setting this time frame and that achievable goal just clicks for me, and I'm suddenly motivated and ready to go for it. But I saw some of you guys thinking, Pomodoro timers didn't work for me. Because like I know my sister tried it once, it didn't work for her. But that's normal, like not everything works for everybody. That's when I started researching for more tips and techniques out there, and I realized that there's this whole world out there just dedicated to helping you manage your time, using time pressure, all of that to your advantage. I'm going to mention a couple of them, and trust me, these are game changers. These are not gimmicks, these have been real game changers. Alright. Time boxing. Sounds pretty fancy, I know. That was my first reaction as well. Time boxing. So, 45 minutes. I'm going to give myself 45 minutes to brainstorm for this essay, no more, no less. Why this works is it helps you escape that perfectionist trap, that perfectionist mindset where you tweak one sentence for 3 hours, because no, that sentence doesn't have to be that perfect. It helps you stay on task because you know, okay, after 45 minutes I need to get this much done, I need to be finished with the brainstorming, so I've got to move on. Keeps you going, it keeps you from wasting time, keeps you on task. Next one is the 15-minute start. I personally love this one because it elegantly tricks your mind. Let me tell you why. Whenever you're staring at a super complex project or some dangerous essay that you really don't want to do, like, oh, I don't want to do this, seems too scary. The trick is, what it says, just commit 15 minutes to it. That's it, not too long, just 15 minutes. You can tell yourself, you can stop right after that no matter the progress. The reason why this works is because once you've told yourself that I'm going to get off after 15 minutes no matter what, you're more likely to get started, and that's what the main thing is. Imagine your work or you are just a tire at the edge of a hill. If you don't really push it, it's just going to stay stationary. But if you push it just a little bit, put a little bit of effort, it's just going to keep going. That's the key here. Because starting is the hardest part for all us humans. If we start rolling, there's a really high chance you're going to keep going. After those 15 minutes, you're going to realize, oh, I'm already done this much, might as well just finish it for like another 10 minutes. And boom, you're already done. An assignment or that scary essay, or part of it at least. Already over the hardest part, which is the start. Last one I'm going to talk about, there are way too many, but these are the 4 ones I love. Anyway, sprint writing. Great for brainstorming and getting ideas out. A small personal note, I hate brainstorming. Whenever we're given freedom of choice for an essay or some project, I just hate brainstorming because for me, that takes the longest time. Like if we're given a week, I'm gonna spend 3 days just brainstorming because if I personally have that inner critic that's always like, this is too cliche, this sounds terrible and all that, right? That really stops productivity and wastes a lot of your time. So what this says is set yourself a 15-minute timer. I know lots of timers. Set yourself 15-minute timer. And what you need to do is just start writing. Don't edit, don't worry about grammar, don't even worry about the formatting, the font, nothing. Just start writing, just get those ideas out of your mind. Because the thing is, once you get those existing ideas out of your mind, which you don't really like, your mind's gonna start creating fresh ones, and you're probably gonna like one of those. So this is pure gold for brainstorming. I use this every single time whenever we're given the freedom of choice for an essay or for a project. Lovely. Alright, after everything that we've covered here today, what do you as the audience take home? I hope you guys take home some of the techniques I just mentioned. But apart from that, here's my call to action for you. Deadlines are your drive. They're not your enemies, they're not eaters of your sanity, they're your friends, they're your secret weapons waiting to be used. Next time there's a deadline breathing real close to you, suffocating you, don't freeze up, don't panic. Take a deep breath. And remember what we talked about today. They're not your enemies. They're not your enemies. They're just your brain's way of saying, okay, it's time to focus up, set aside distractions, and get something done. Choose your techniques, choose your timelines, however you want to do it, and just use that pressure to use it as your fuel, use it as your drive to create something amazing. Because here's what I've learned, and this is super important. People who crumble under deadline pressure versus the people who thrive in them isn't fate or luck or chance. It's just knowing how and when to flip that coin. I'm going to say that again, super important. People who crumble under deadlines and their pressure versus people who thrive in them, who use it as their fuel, is not fate or luck or chance. It's just knowing how and when to flip that coin, how to use those time boundaries and the pressure to your advantage. You've got the techniques now, you've got the secret. Now go out there, trust the process, more importantly, trust yourself, and most importantly, show those deadlines who's boss. Thank you.